Hi, I'm Nancy Puder with Seacoast Seniors and Keller Williams. And today we're going to answer a question that comes up every time we get involved with a downsizing move. And that is, what do I do with all my stuff? So to answer a few of the most often asked questions, I've asked Dylan Deaton, owner of 360 Estate Sales, to speak with you today. Dylan is an expert on how to liquidate all of that stuff that you've been collecting for years. Dylan, I want to thank you for being with us today. Could you briefly tell us what you do and the areas you serve?
Sure, absolutely, Nancy, and thank you for having me. What we specialize in is assisting clients who are going through a major life transition. So whether that's a move or a downsizing or both or whatever the case may be, they have a lot of stuff that they need to liquidate and get rid of. And that's the most daunting task when going through one of these transitions. So what we specialize in are estate sale and downsizing sales, where we are liquidating a large quantity of items at one time and having them removed from the property. And so we serve the Central Coast. We are in San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County, Monterey County, and we also have an office out in the Central Valley servicing Fresno County.
Wow, that's great. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the one question we hear all the time is, what am I going to do with all my stuff? So I'd like to ask you this question. What is the benefit of doing an estate sale versus a garage sale and just throwing a few things out in the driveway for a couple of weekends?
Sure, absolutely. And the fundamental difference is that a garage sale is really just that. It's meant for somebody that just has a few items. Maybe they've had some stuff collecting in their garage that they just need to get rid of. And an estate sale or a downsizing sale is really a sale where there's a lot more to it. Usually that's 50% or more of the contents of a home. So you're not dealing with a small quantity of items that could just be easily brought out into the garage or the driveway or what have you. And usually with a garage sale, that's for kind of some modest value, everyday household items, as opposed to maybe other contents in a home like fine art or antiques or jewelry or things of that nature that you're not really going to have a market for at a garage sale, where you're dependent on people just driving by and seeing your sign and stopping by. What we do is a sale where we're heavily marketing and advertising the items that you have available in your home. So we're reaching a target audience that are actually interested in purchasing the items that you have.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Well, I know I told myself the last 3 times that I did a garage sale that I would never do one again.
Right.
It's got to be one of the most exhausting experiences I've ever had. And I know that sometimes people get lucky and do well, but my garage sales never, I think the highest earning one I had after spending 2 or 3 days out in the driveway and then having to haul back in everything that didn't sell was
right.
maybe $200.
Right. So it's a lot of work, and the end result is that you still have a bunch of stuff in your garage that you had to pull back in that you didn't sell. And now you have to invest more time, energy, and money trying to figure out what to do with those items now, because you still need your space and those are still items you don't want. And so it's it doesn't really work out well. There's no great result at the end of a garage sale.
Right. So you operate differently from the traditional estate sale. We're all familiar with the estate sales, little small, short, usually yellow estate sale signs on the corners that we drive by on a Saturday morning, and we kind of indulge in that guilty pleasure and pop in and spend about half hour to 45 minutes browsing and touching somebody else's belongings, and then eventually standing in line and purchasing our 75-cent item.
Sure.
And patting ourselves on the back about the deal that we got.
Right.
How is your typical estate sale different from what most of us are familiar with?
So what makes us different is that we operate solely online. So our process entails coming into the home photographing, inventorying the entire contents that are available for sale. Those then go onto our online platform in your own individual catalog, where your items are aggressively marketed and advertised online. So what makes that kind of different is that we are actually reaching a much broader audience than you would at a traditional estate sale, where you have signs out and are dependent again on people in the community driving by and wanting to stop by and shop. And some are going to buy some stuff, some may just be looking around. What we do is actually target the end buyer. So we go into a home and we develop a list of keywords from the contents. So whether it's the artist name on a painting, the maker of the antique furniture or the china set, or the car in the driveway, whatever the case may be, we use those keywords to then develop an advertising campaign online. So through social media and Google and a number of different platforms, we are then able to target buyers who are interested in that item. They've either previously purchased something like that, or they've searched for items like that online, and that draws them into the sale. So we're not dependent on the community in the town that we're in or the county. We have a much broader reach. So there's folks that have stuff shipped to them that have purchased stuff from your sale, or we also have buyers that are driving a great distance. We have buyers that are driving from the LA area and over from the valley and down from the bay to come and gather things that they've purchased with us online. So you're able to optimize your return and reach a much broader audience, therefore getting more stuff sold and for a greater amount.
So am I correct in understanding that you don't have a bunch of people coming through the home and handling my things, or?
So and that's the other benefit to it, is that we're limiting the unwanted foot traffic. Most of our sales are happening because you're either sold the home or you're trying to sell the home or whatever the case may be. And the last thing you really want is hundreds and hundreds of people coming into the home and all that unnecessary foot traffic. And so with our model, there are still people that will enter the home on the pickup day to pick up stuff. It's very limited. A lot of the small items are carried out of the home and given to the buyer outside. Maybe, some larger furniture items would require some of their assistance, but the foot traffic is greatly reduced into the home. So we're limiting theft and breakage and damage to the home and all the liabilities and risks that are just inherent when having a traditional estate sale. So it's a much safer, efficient way of doing it, where we're greatly reducing the amount of people entering the property.
And I would think that handling it this way would greatly reduce the emotional part of maybe dispersing of personal items for a loved one who's passed.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is definitely something that we have seen, is that can be certainly an emotional burden, not necessarily with the family being there, as most times with most estate sales, the family's not present during the actual sale, but just the thought of having somebody come in and dig through their closet and dig through their loved one's personal property or their own personal property is kind of an overwhelming situation. And in this instance, that's not happening, because we've handled the items, we've sold the items, and then we're just giving them to the buyer. So there's not that intrusion of somebody coming through and picking through stuff and doing what they want. So
yeah, that's really good, Dylan. So what does it cost? I know everybody's wondering, what does it cost to have you sell the belongings rather than, say, versus doing it themselves? What's the cost of having you handle the sale?
Sure. And so that's the other great thing about our services, that we operate on a commission. So we essentially are taking a percentage of the gross proceeds. And at this point, when you're going through this major life transition, you're writing a lot of checks, right? You're getting the house spruced up, you're doing the landscaping, the movers, everything else, you're writing a lot of checks. For us, you don't owe us anything up front. There's no upfront cost. We come in, we sell everything. We're spending all the money on the labor and the advertising and everything else up front out of our own pocket. And then we're just deducting a percentage of the gross proceeds. And it does fluctuate a little bit. Every sale is different and, provides its own unique circumstances. So depending on what services are actually going to be required, what the size of the project is, and what types of items are contained inside the home, that commission percentage can vary, but in most cases it's around 35%. And then some of the homes we do with maybe some more capital items, vehicles, or maybe some expensive fine art or things of that nature, we'll do a sliding scale on those. So the more those items sell for, the more that the seller would retain on those items.
So I would imagine with the reach that you have, the extraordinary reach that you have, being able to market online, in the long run, even though the client, or even though you take 30 to 35%, whatever that rate is, I would imagine that oftentimes the person that hires you comes out with as much or more money than if they had tried to sell these items themselves.
Correct. The net gain would certainly be higher. In our format, we have a 98% average sell-through rate, so virtually everything sells. Somebody trying to handle their own sale, or even hiring a traditional format company, you're just not going to reach that level of sell-through. I've done it. That's how we started out. We were lucky to sell 50% of the contents of the home if we were lucky. So with that, the client would still be left in the same situation they started with. So they sold some stuff, they made some money, but now what do we do with the rest of the stuff? Especially if we're under a time crunch, if we're already in escrow or we're trying to enter escrow or whatever the case may be, we have a limited time to figure out what to do with the rest of this stuff now. And so that's going to involve them investing their time, energy, and money and trying to figure that out. And the end result is not going to be the net gain that they would have hiring a professional to do it, and really getting them the most for their items. And the most important thing is getting everything sold all at one time in an efficient manner where it all leaves the home and is done and taken care of.
Well, that's amazing that you can actually sell about 98% on the average of the properties that you work with. But what happens, say the moving truck has come, they've loaded up the stuff, you've been hired to liquidate the estate. What happens with the items that are left? Do I have to go and find somebody to pick them up and bring them to the Goodwill? Do I need to hire a cleaning service? Is it going to be a huge mess after I walk away from the property?
Right. No, absolutely not. So we're a full service company, and in the result that there are some leftover items, we'll certainly, if the family does not want to retain those items, they obviously have first right to that. Anything else that's left over after that will get boxed up and arranged to go to a donation center, where they can find some use there. And then the property itself, we usually use the property completely empty, broom swept. And then we can even, if their realtor or what have you doesn't have a resource for a cleaning person, we are in contact with different cleaning companies that we can reach out to and have them come in and do kind of a final clean out of the home as well.
That's amazing. So when you are done, the house is left completely empty.
Correct.
And the house is broom swept. And unless you have a specific cleaning service that you'd like to hire, you will go ahead and hire that cleaning service and make sure that the property is turned over to the next occupant sparkling clean.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the clients we deal with, we're dealing with the executors and heirs that are not in this area. They're hiring us from out of state, and they don't have the ability or the time to be here or to set up all these different services. So we network with a lot of different companies in the community and resources in our community to make sure that all those services are set up for them so that it's just a turnkey operation and they have nothing to worry about.
Well, Dylan, I want to say thank you for giving us your valuable time today. And I wonder if you understand how valuable the service is that you provide. We've used Dylan for many of our clients, and they speak so highly of you, and it takes such a huge amount of stress out of their move. So thank you again for coming in today and helping us help downsizing made easy. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nancy. It's always a pleasure, and it's always a great honor assisting people in our community that need these services.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.